Good morning, everybody, and War Eagle. We are back, the War Rapport, with another pregame show. This week, we are talking Auburn versus Georgia, the Deep South's oldest rivalry. But before we get into the game, let me just go ahead and let y'all know if you are watching us on YouTube or you're on Facebook, it doesn't matter. Make sure you go over to the YouTube channel, click like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. We'll be trying to give you some exclusive content over there on YouTube. Of course, you can always follow us on the War Report at the War Report on Twitter and Instagram. We are also TW Report on TikTok now. We got a TikTok, y'all, and we got some content going up over there. And, for whatever it's worth, it's not even Bama. I just like to throw it up there. It doesn't matter. All right, let's get into today's matchup. My man Caesar is in here with me with the pregame. We might have B Will hopping on in just a minute. Today's matchup is going to be a key one early in the season. We talked about this a little bit already on Wednesday, but early in the season, we have one of our biggest rivalry games. How are you feeling a few days removed from our picks a couple of days ago, where you picked, I think, 23-20, or is it 24-20?
23-20. I think B. Will said 24-20. So we had the
23 to
close
20.
scores.
Yeah, so you all were thinking relatively high scoring game for what people are dubbing as a defensive matchup. How are you feeling today, knowing what we know right now?
I still feel about the same. I think the defenses will. I'll be surprised if it's not a defensive game.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, especially with what we saw from Georgia's offense a week ago. It will be a very big disappointment for our defense to not slow them down at the very least. But also with our offense, it's so much that we don't know about this offense. So it's hard to say that we're just going to you know, um, take advantage of their defense, which is still relatively small. I mean, strong. They still have athletes all over their
For sure.
roster. So
Yeah,
I
Georgia's
expect it.
defense is going to be probably the best, if not second best defense we see all season. I just don't, I don't want to. My high score prediction was not so much about my disrespect for Georgia's defense. It's my optimism about Auburn's offense. I'm hoping
Right.
that we can get in there and really, because I mean, to be frank, though Arkansas lost that game and it got ugly in the second half, they were able to move the ball the first half of the game. And, Felipe Franks happened often, and
Sure.
a very terrible. I still am very confused about the double reverse call in the Reds when they were backed up inside their own 10-yard line that Arkansas had. Like, it was just, that's not the time to make that call, and that went disastrously wrong.
I mean,
So,
trick plays don't work on that defense anyway. I mean,
yeah.
that too much speed. They're well coached. No, you're not gonna. That's not gonna work.
Yeah. So again, it's my hope that we're able to generate some early offense while they're still trying to figure out what this Auburn offense looks like this year, to put pressure on them to have to throw the ball late in the game, and then we pull away again. Again, my prediction is similar to last week, is that I feel like it's going to start slow, and then hopefully we'll put some distance between us and force them to be a little more one-dimensional, and then we can put it away late. So we'll see how it goes. We're gonna bring B Will in here into the setting. B Will, what's going on, man?
Greetings, fellows. I'm sorry I'm late.
It's all good. It happens. We were just kind of discussing again the keys for today's game. We're gonna get into our key matchups though. Who we feel like is an impact player for the Auburn side, or a key matchup that you're looking forward to see. And I'm gonna start with you, Caesar. About let's start with a impact player for Auburn. Who is the guy that you want to see flash on the screen early and often?
I'm gonna go away from the obvious pick, which is Knicks, obviously. I want to see, and this is a part of the injury talk that we can get into as well, but I want to see Sean Shivers actually be productive in this game. Georgia's going to try to make Auburn one-dimensional, take away what they feel that we're comfortable doing, which is being a pass offense. I want to see some more plays to the running back. I want to see runs to the outside. Sean Shivers shines when he's able to get to the outside.
Right.
I want to see some catches out the backfield from him. We heard a lot in fall camp. He was making some big catches. So I want to see some plays to him. And Kirby Smart's going to try to blitz and put pressure on Knicks, and so that opens up the possibility for us to have some passes thrown out of the backfield. And if Sean Shivers is healthy, he should be the beneficiary of that. So I like to see him make the defense pay, make some big plays, open it up, and keep Georgia's defense honest on offense.
Okay. B. Will, is there an offensive player that you want to see flash on this screen early and often today that will be a key for victory for Auburn?
I mean, of course, everybody's gonna say. I would say Shivers too. Unfortunately, he's hurt, but Schwartz, man. I mean, you can't have that type of speed and not be just a breakaway player. And he hadn't been that. Partially, we think because of scheming, partially because Nix's inadequacies. But I want them to find a way to get him, and then that's going to be on Bo. I think Seth is the threat that you need him to be enough to make some room, especially with Morris utilizing tight ends in the middle of the fields more. So far in the one game we've seen him. So I want to see Schwartz get free, whether you're using everybody else to free him up or vice versa. And then eventually, he just finds some room. Y'all, I want to know that y'all intentionally plan to get this guy the ball, whether it was late using him as a decoy early and then late getting him free. I just want to see him, even if it's a speed sweep, you know what I'm saying? Just get this man the ball and get him in space. And I want to see him running into the end zone from at least 30 yards out. I love to see that for him.
Okay, that's a good one. For me, I think I want to see any wide receiver not named Seth Williams have more than 3 catches down the field. Now, I'm not talking about those quick, out routes that they were throwing, to the sidelines and stuff like that. I want to see someone making plays down the field not named Seth Williams, because what I expect, as you stated, Caesar, Kirby Smart is going to be like, okay, this is you guys' guy. We're going to bracket him. He's not going to see one-on-one coverage. Though they like to play press man coverage on the outside, I don't think that they're going to do that consistently against Seth Williams because he's such a jump ball threat. And he's frankly Bo Nix's, security blanket. When
Right.
he's out, scramble a little bit, find Seth, and throw it up and hope and pray he can out jump the guy for the ball, right?
Yeah.
And so I think Kirby Smart is going to intentionally say, all right, not that. We're going to force you to scramble to your left because you're super comfortable coming out to your right. You're going to scramble left today, and we're going to make sure we roll coverage towards Seth Williams.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to see anybody not named Seth Williams make an impact catching the ball down the field. That's, to me, if we can get other receivers involved in this pass offense, I don't know that this offense is going to be able to be stopped because the way that Kirby Smart likes to play defense, let's talk about Kirby Smart and his matchups against Chad Morris type offenses. He's seen when in his days as defensive coordinator at Alabama versus a team that plays in Clemson, back when he was there, and in his Arkansas days as head coach, he's seen, he's not unfamiliar with what's going to happen against a Chad Morris offense. The thing that he's not seen, I think, is going to be the types of athletes we're going to throw on the field with that. So for me, hopefully we can get some of these other guys. I heard some really great things about some of these freshman receivers in fall camp, and I didn't see. I think we had one catch from one.
Capers caught a pass.
Capers was the only one who had a catch, and I don't know if the other ones even touched the field. I don't think Kobe Hudson touched the field.
I don't think so.
So, I want to see some of these guys get out here, and what I'm hoping is they were like, all right, we're not just going to show you all our horses game 1, and then they're going to throw a bunch of stuff at people game 2 to be like, whoa, wait a minute. We weren't ready for all of this. So hopefully that's what we're going to see in this game from the offense. All right, let's flip it to the other side of the ball, and let's talk about defense. Is there a guy on defense that you're hoping today you see his name getting called often, whether it's him actually making a play or him forcing some sort of play? Because, again, we know some guys don't show up in the stat line, but we know they make huge impact. Is there a guy that you need to see make some plays? I'm going to start with you this time, B. Will.
Defensively, I know our linebacking core is solid. I mean, Papo, it would look good coming for the blitz last week. Britt, even though he's preseason all SEC, we know him in space is he's suspect in space. Florida put that on full display last year. Mm-hmm. So Kirby's smart enough, and even though they've got a very old school traditional style offense, I expect
Kirby's smart enough. Go ahead.
Yeah, man.
Kirby, I can't help it.
Kirby is his staff. I mean, they got coaches, just like everybody like to say when they think they got the best coaches. The other team has coaches too. And if we've seen it, other teams have seen it. So I expect Georgia has the athletes, and they have a smart enough staff, offensive coordinator to say, listen, yeah, he's great coming downhill for the run, but if we get this guy in some space, we're going to embarrass him. So what I expect to see is that the linebackers, and what I hope to see, that the linebackers have an outstanding game, and not only in covering in playing the run, but also covering the pass, because I expect their offense to try to put our defense in some situations where they have to account for some pass catchers. And I really hope that Britt shows up big and plays up to his potential and up to his height.
Okay. Caesar, who you got? Who you thinking on the defensive side of the ball?
Mine is going to be anyone on the line who can generate a pass rush.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that's
Cat is playing today. Is he a healthy starter?
He played. He's expected to play today. He actually played a little bit last week. Malzahn actually expects him to be able to play this week. So Big Cat is definitely comes to mind. Of course, we know Derek Hall. He got kicked out of the game last week for targeting. So I like to see those guys get on the edge. And, I was pleased with what Truesdale and company did in the interior. But, for the longest of time, we haven't had one on the outside to kind of disrupt things. So I want to see those guys get in there and throw. You got to remember, this is a Georgia offense that their O-line is trying to figure things out up front. So I want to see our guys who've been around like Big Cat get in there and disrupt the timing of the offense. And if they can disrupt the timing, we won't have to worry about them picking on our linebackers in space with the matchups if their timing is off. So with all the things that they got going on offense, it's important for the defense to kind of throw them off up front.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to echo what B. Will said about linebacker play today. I did not feel like our linebackers played particularly well in the first half of last week's game. Kentucky was able to run the ball a lot. Now, albeit a lot of their big runs came as a result of them trying to respect the fact that that quarterback can run. And that's not going to be the case this week. If they're trotting out Bennett as their starting quarterback, which all signs point to that's who it's going to be starting the game for them, he is not a mobile threat. So he's going to be a stationary target for them to get back there and tee off on. If it is going to be JT Daniels coming in relief of him or coming into play, he is, though he's a little more mobile, he's also hurt. Like he's not 100%. So I don't expect him to have the elusiveness to get away from a pass rush. So I need to see those linebackers be downhill against the run and make them have to threaten that defensive backfield that played well last week against Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Be consistent and play well again this week. But those linebackers have to be present often and making plays against the run downhill, forcing them into negative situations early, and being very aware of the fact that if we get good pressure early, they're going to start throwing screens and delays in there, and they just need to be head on the swivel the entire game. And to me, KJ Britt is the guy that I need to see play better. He didn't have a particularly great game for me. Owen Pappo, I think, had a better game. Now, KJ Britt was decent. Like I'm not trying to trash him. He had a decent game, but I do need to see KJ Britt play better today in order for him to be in a situation where I feel like he's going to be super productive for our defense today.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I got Mike in here. He's sitting sideways. Well, let me see if he can turn his camera and we can get him in here on this thing. Mike G is in the building.
What's up, fellas?
Yeah, man. Appreciate you hopping in this morning. We were just talking keys to victory for today. I'll give you a minute to get yourself oriented while we go and we look at kind of the key matchup, right? Like, so we talked about players that we want to see flash. Is there a key matchup, whether it's a guy on a guy or a unit on a unit that we're expecting? That might be kind of a duplication of the last question, but I'm going to start because I want to see. Now they have Blake Countess. Is that the guy's name for Georgia? Let me make sure I have his name correct. I don't want
Blake Countess used to be a DB.
D-back, yeah. For us, he can be You think about him.
Blake something. There's a guy named Blake. No, excuse me. It's Richard LeCount. That's the guy's name.
Oh yeah.
Oh, in the secondary. Gotcha.
He's the safety for Georgia. Now he's a big one for them. He's supposed to be an All-American style safety.
He had 2 picks last week against Arkansas.
But it's Felipe Franks. You know what I'm saying?
Franks, correct.
I could get 2 picks again. Nah,
the matchup that
one. You get one.
The matchup I'm looking forward to see is Seth Williams versus their number one. Oh, we got a little echo coming in here. That's Mike? Yeah. Seth Williams versus Eric Stokes. Eric Stokes is supposed to be their number 1 rated cornerback. and he is the guy that I expect them to match up often with Seth Williams. So I want to see that interplay. Seth Williams, Eric Stokes, mano y mano, if Kirby is bold enough to say Seth can handle this guy by himself. Do you think, now I talked earlier, I think that they're going to roll coverage towards Seth and they're going to bracket him. Do you think Kirby is bold enough to say, my guy can stick your guy on the outside?
Yeah, I do. And he has a long history of game planning well for Auburn. So I think he's arrogant enough to think that. Like he accused Coach Malzahn earlier this week of coach speak. I thought it was a pretty funny interview where Malzahn said, "Hey, Georgia, this is the best team we're going to face all year," and Kirby came out and said, "Yeah, like, thanks, Gus, but every week it's going to be the best team you faced all year." So I appreciate you saying that, but we all know that we have some holes to fill, here at Georgia. I do think though that again he's kind of got this game scares me because of Kirby Smart, not because of anything that they have as far as talent is concerned. I think from a talent matchup, we're pretty evenly matched. But if I had to say there's one matchup, it's going to be our O-line versus their D-line. Like, not any player, just the position.
Yeah.
I'm still a little shaky after what I saw in the run game last week about how we're going to perform from an O-line perspective against their D-line. And if they can protect both and we can see, a version of what we saw last week, Auburn, remember what I said, remember my prediction earlier this week, Auburn by 2 touchdowns, right? 35-21. So I know Brian.
Still a little skeptical of that call. I see.
Yeah, listen, Brian, it's been a long time since I've had to prove you wrong every week on the regular. But I will tell you, I didn't, and I agree with Brian a lot last week on the broadcast.
Yeah, that's right. Come on home, bro.
And so a little of this it'll be me being contrary, but I do think that this team has the potential. I think we've had sort of potential for years. And if there was ever a year in the SEC where it was wide open for Auburn to kind of come in and and fully take the crown, it's this year, right? It's this abbreviated year where there's a lot of questions at other teams at quarterback, and Georgia, who are they going to play today, right? Like what are we going to see at quarterback from Georgia today? So what we need is while they have questions, we need for our O-line and our quarterback to come out and act like they've been there before.
Right.
If they don't, I'm telling you, fellas, it's going to be a long season. If we don't win this game and look good and we're not competitive, right? Like if we get beat by 2 touchdowns, just hang it up for the season.
I'm not willing to go there. I think
listen, 6-4. 6-4 if we lose this game, big. Right, I just think
I think it matters how the final score matters, but I think how you look in that final score also matters. So if it's fluky type of thing where I don't know, some crazy snap mishandle, something like that, I'm not willing to discount the season because of those scores. But what I am going to say, if we get dominated this game, you're probably right.
That's what I'm saying. Defense. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if we lose and we don't look good. I'm putting us where you put LSU. 4 losses minimum. With Mississippi State looking resurgent, I'm gonna be watching them today because I'm really interested to see.
That's going to be an interesting thing to see if they can produce the way that they did game 1. If that was, is it truly LSU is going to be down this year, or Mississippi State looks that good, right? Are they that good? So we'll see.
Right.
All right, let's go over to Caesar. What do you got as far as a key matchup, a matchup that you want to see us dominate in this game?
Mike took my answer pretty much. It's O-line against their D-line. I want to see our O-line take the next step. I want them to actually secure their guys in that they play well, right? Pass protection was actually pretty solid. But again, as I mentioned, Kirby is going to try to put pressure on Nix to throw his timing off in his offense.
For sure.
Right?
I
They
expect
want
to
to
see
see,
a ton of blitzing today.
yeah,
Unless
like
they can consistently get pressure with their front without having to blitz, but I think they're going to throw everything at Bo Nix and force him in uncomfortable positions and try to see him make mistakes. So I expect to see a lot of that
right.
all
And,
day.
and Nix has not made Kirby pay for that
Right.
to this point. So it's almost like prove to me that you are better. Right. So I expect our O line. I want our O line to actually take the next step forward and actually push back against this Georgia D line.
For sure. B. Will, what you got?
Think about the matchup. It would be Bo versus Kirby. That is the same that y'all saying. It's like Bo is gonna be the key. We got more talent around him as a quarterback than we probably had around any Auburn quarterback ever. And it is getting I'm a little discouraged, not like I wasn't already with Gus's track record of wasting talent and not developing it, but with this talent, we have the element of surprise, I think, more than we've ever had. Kirby doesn't have 10 games to just be like, all right, what have they done? What do they like to do? Because in those 10 games, usually Gus has started to telegraph everything. Yeah.
Right.
Especially with the limitations in personnel that we've had. So if our quarterback is hurt, Gus doesn't switch. If we got one wide receiver, then that's what we go into, bringing the running backs in. So, when it's pass run. But for once, we've got 4 running backs in the stable who are all eligible, who are all talented. The only question is the offensive line. But if we can't have a young quarterback who went through the trials and tribulations of last year on the road, got embarrassed, got blitzed at Florida, got blitzed at LSU, got embarrassed the whole season every time we played top competition except for Alabama. And you got the OC who is a great OC, who's seen the top talent, who you've seen make quarterbacks better. I don't know when we're going to do it, if it's not going to be this year, with very little time for Kirby to plan, very little for him to plan against. It's got to be this year. It's got to be this game. And I'm really hoping that we end up on the positive of it. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he puts just enough pressure on Bo to make him look suspect again.
All right. Do you guys remember in Nick Marshall's national championship season, we lost to LSU, but in the second half, they turned the game around, and it was really the turnaround of our season, right? Like we were getting run off the field, and then they came out of nowhere and made it like a touchdown game or something, or a 10-point game. And I remember the commentators very vividly saying, they really turned it around in the second half. They've got to be very encouraged by what they saw. They were on the road at LSU. And hopefully they found something going in next week. And then we went on to win every game after that and go to the national title game, right? Like those moments are so few and far between, right? I mean, because if you think about it in context, that was 6 years ago, over 6 years ago. That's why I think we're all saying this game is so important, right? Like if they don't come out, right. And, the difference between a shot at a championship and no championship is paper thin some seasons. Right. And I think this season they have a great shot, but because of the reduced schedule, no non-conference games, right. Like it's just straight up smash mouth, go in, win the SEC, and you're there. That's it. There's no guarantee for any runner up. Although I do think that the way the Big 12 looks right now and the way and the Pac-12 is playing a 7-game season, so like there is a strong chance that we could get a second SEC team in, depending on what the Big does, because they will play a full 10-game schedule. Like I just think they've got to get it done this game. Brian, you made an excellent point. Like there's not a whole season of game tape for Kirby to game plan against us. There's Kentucky against a new O-line and a new coordinator, and that's it. He's going to have to go back and look at Clemson tape, right, to game plan effectively for Chad Morris, and who knows what that's going to be. So, like, that's what I'm saying. Auburn has a chance to win this big, right?
Yeah.
If Morris gets the upper hand, we can win by at least 2 touchdowns.
And again, that's my optimism right there, is that I don't know if they are fully prepared for what we could possibly be because number one, we don't as fans know what we could possibly be. We haven't seen enough tape, and though we know what Chad Morris's offense typically looks like, we don't know
Right.
what Chad Morris's offense looks like with little wrinkles that Gus might throw in there to be like, hey, we're gonna change this thing up right here with the kind of weapons that we have on the outside. We just don't know. So my optimism is in the fact that they don't know either, and so they're going to be adapting on the fly. And as they adapt, hopefully we don't see stubborn Gus pop back in and say, no, we're going to do this. And we're going to let Chad Morris adjust to whatever Kirby's throwing at him. We're going to see a more mature Bo Nix who can see the mistakes that he might have made on the last drive and go and correct it on the next one. And we're going to see our offense gain steam as the game goes along and start to slowly pull away. And our defense just stay consistent and keep them, 3-and-outs or kicking field goals. I gave them 16 points because I'm expecting a couple of field goals out of Georgia on a couple of
Right.
drives, right? So what I'm hoping to see is bend but don't break, typical Auburn defense, one or two really great, stellar defensive plays to put us in a short field, and then that offense just slowly wearing them down throughout the game and pulling away late.
All
That's what
right.
I'm hoping to see.
Yeah, I want to see. I want to see you hinted at it, Ike, but I want to see the way we've seen Kevin Steele adjust to what the offense is doing under Chad Morris. I want to see, can the offense adjust to what the defense is doing? Because typically, in the past, when they figure out our offense, they figured it out, and if whatever hopefully we've gotten our points on the first few drives, right? So I want to see it once Kirby, who we know is good at in-game adjustments because of who he's coached under. Once he figures certain things out, is that where Chad? I mean, is it a game of chess? Is Chad going to make another move to kind of take advantage of what Georgia was previously doing?
Right.
So that's another thing I want to look for.
Let me tell you, Gus taking the foot off the gas when we've been up has been a topic of discussion over the last 2 years as well, too. Right? Like, so, if they don't have
Also
it
the
figured out
championship,
and they figure us out in the second half, what's Chad Morris going to do? Are we going to put the foot on the throat and keep going, or are we going to try to play ball control? In particular, I don't know if they can with this run game.
And that was what I was saying last game. I don't even know if we have the ability to just run the ball down somebody's throat and milk the clock. Like, we're going to have to just go out there every single possession and continue to put points on the board. Like, score in time, throw it out the window. Doesn't matter. Keep scoring because you don't know what's going to happen after this next play. So just keep going out there and scoring the ball.
That's a good point.
I agree. It's going to be an interesting day today, fellas. We got the prime time slot.
Right. We are 0-3 in the last 3 games against Georgia. Georgia is on a 3-game win streak.
That's incredible. That's an incredible.
It's not considering who our coach is.
Because we've beaten Bama twice in the same span.
Right.
Right? Like, and they won a national title and Georgia has not. That's why that stat is incredible. We beat Bama twice, and they've gotten a national title, and Georgia is not. Right? Like, I find that every year this game makes me back to when we were at school, fellas. Like, every time we played Georgia, I was like, get ready for some monumental disappointment. Right? Like, I mean, it came every year. And so except for 2004, right? Like 2004, we pulled that one out. So I really, really, really hoping this is the year that we get their number because let's be real. No shame in saying that. We're just catching them hopefully on a down year.
Yep. I would
say might be more about them not being usual Georgia and then having to play us early in the season before they figure their stuff out. Right.
Honestly, it's a really good place for us to get Georgia in the season. Like, again, I mean, we don't know what they can be, but they don't know what we can be. So it's really just going to be about who can go out there and make some plays today. It's not going to be about who's got the better coach. because Lord knows that has not worked in our favor against Georgia in the last couple of years.
Right.
It's not going to be about who's got the better athletes, honestly. It's just going to be about who shows up and makes plays. And we have
Right.
playmakers this year that I feel like can go out there and do that. So hopefully we're going to show and prove that in a couple of hours. This is, well, we got a long time before kickoff now, but
Yeah, lots of football to watch between now and then.
yeah, looking forward to seeing that. Anybody got any final thoughts before we get out of here this morning?
Just looking forward to it, man. This is gonna be, we on the other side of this win, and we got the win, and now we finna not coast, but we got a couple cupcakes, and then we get to really get into a rhythm and find out who we are. Or we could look bad and it'd be like, man, I don't want to see no more games because we could lose all these mugs. I don't know.
Right.
So this is it. This is the hill.
This is definitely going to be one of those games that you're going to determine what you got for the season. All right, let's get out of here. We will see you at halftime. Don't forget, we will have halftime reactions coming right back on here with the War Report. As always, click like and subscribe if you are on the YouTube page. You can follow us on the social media. That is the War Report on Instagram and Twitter. And if you happen to be on TikTok, we'll be out there doing a little content as well at TW Report. Holla at you all at halftime. Until then, War Eagle, we are out.
War Eagle.
Peace.
There you go.